What's going on, my friends, my family, my fellow gamers? Your only friend these YouTube streets, Puerto77. And right now, in the middle playing Final Fantasy 16. Pretty much at the last mission. Cleaned up some stuff for trophies. Like, there's certain games that I'm willing to go for the platinum. I'm not a big plat gamer. I don't plat a lot of games. I think I have like 16 or 15, you know, but if I really enjoyed the game and I want to play more of it, those are the ones I usually plat. Final Fantasy 16 clearly one of them. So after this, I have to go for Final Fantasy mode and then master all the abilities, and that pretty much get the plat. Really enjoying this game, right? Between playing, enjoying my time today, playing games, and then just paying attention to what's going on in the community. This whole Baldur's Gate 3 fiasco with Xbox and just the conversation behind Xbox Series S, it's really making me appreciate the lessons learned Sony has with console development. There was a time when Sony, when they made their consoles, they did their own thing, right? PlayStation 1, Power PC architecture. Sony used to create their own, components and stuff like that. If you remember PlayStation 2 with the Emotion Engine, they used to do their own thing. PlayStation 3 was a time they went too far. They were Icarus flying too close to the sun. And 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 if you remember that gen, they went through the ringer, you know. Sean Layden even talked about that. It was a moment of hubris for PlayStation, you know. Now, thankfully, Sony didn't have the attitude of, oh, we'll just fix the next gen. No, they fixed their major problem that gen, which was the games, and they finished off strong, at least from a perspective of mindshare. You know, um, they brought out some amazing games, some amazing titles, and the first party did an amazing job. But difficult challenge for third party. Then you move on to the PlayStation 4 gen, and much better console. Of course, didn't launch as powerful as we would like, and what I mean by that, you know, some of the components, mobile CPU, Jaguar, things like that. But ultimately, the generation ended up really good. Great looking games for especially for the hardware. Um, but now we got the PS5, right? And if you paid attention, if you were around, if you were listening, man, 2020, man, that was just a terrible year in my opinion for trying to find honest conversations about the hardware. It was heavily skewed towards Xbox, with talk of they're the ones that created, you know, the best consoles, while PlayStation, they try to come up with all this stuff that Sony just didn't come out with the right hardware, overheating, all this nonsense, right? It was so bad that they were even hyping that the Series S would be, technically performant over the PlayStation 5. That's how bad it was. It was getting that ridiculous. But beyond all the nonsense, it's 2023, and when you look at the Xbox side, they're the ones that are having all the problems, right? Now, it's one thing to talk about performance and graphics, right? Starfield 30 FPS, no 60 FPS option. Okay, it is a bummer, but ultimately you can still enjoy the game even at 30 FPS because there's been plenty of games that are 30 FPS. It's not the world ender. For some people, it's very disappointing. I get it, but it's not the world's not going to end over there, right? So you could talk about performance. You could talk about games not being native 4K. You could talk about all that. But when the conversation goes beyond graphics, frame rates, effects, when the conversation, the issues go beyond that, and now we're talking on the timeliness of when games come to your platform, that's when it's a real world issue, right? Baldur's Gate 3 is not coming to Xbox this year. It's most likely delayed until 2024 because of the technical disparity between the Series S and the Series X. That's a problem. And that is a problem that I am so glad that I am not dealing with as a PlayStation gamer. I'm so glad that I avoided Xbox console this gen, because that console will stress me the hell out if I actually owned it. You know, PlayStation 5, none of that issue. And believe me, if you paid attention, a lot of these Xbox content creators, these haters, these fanboys, concubines, call them what you want, they are always trying something new, something weird, like the liquid metals melting, just all types of the sky is falling type scenario. They are trying, they have tried to fabricate the Red Ring of Death type scenario. They swear they could just come out with that, right? And it happens over and over. It's like clockwork. It's like every other week there's this new big skies is falling, and us PlayStation gamers, who have the console, we're looking at each other like, "You going through that issue?" And we're like, "No, I'm not going through that issue." And I have the launch console, right? In fact, not since the PlayStation 2. Well, really, the PlayStation 4 was fine also, but the PlayStation 4 was loud. But this console has not given me any types of problems. PS3 gave me problems. And I've seen 360 give me problems. But this console is extremely well made. Amazing console. But the best part is, as a gamer, I'm not worried about any developer saying, "Hey, I can't put out game on your console because of reasons." That's not a thing for PS5. And that right there, when you have real world issues, when real world developers are telling you as a consumer that their game may not be on your platform or is getting delayed because they're trying to figure stuff out this late into the gen, or this deep into the gen, I ain't gonna say late, but deep into the gen, that's just something I ain't gotta worry about as a PlayStation gamer. And I'm very thankful, right, that Sony takes their console development seriously, that it is a high priority for them as a gaming company, and they didn't try to do nothing weird just simply because they feel it's a business strategy. You know, they really looked into what would be best for this gen. They did a great job of creating hardware. I mean, their strategy is pinpoint precision perfect for releasing $400 console. For releasing a $400 and $500 box, you can't be mad or complain on what they accomplished. They did the smart thing. They released one SKU, they released an all digital one, and they released, a disc based one. It's simple. They try to make it as best they can to help third party developers get the most out of it. They pick the right tools and all that stuff to maximize, the best playthrough, right? Of course, we can always demand better, but demanding better means cost more money. That's really how you demand better from consoles. You got to pay more, right? If you want the console to be closer to high-end PCs, then you got to pay the high-end PC price. And then at that point, hardly anyone's going to buy $1,000 console, right? But for $400, $500 machines, oh my God, this PlayStation 5 is phenomenal. This is one phenomenal box. The first party is top tier premiere, right? And I'm looking forward to see what more Sony has cooking up for this gen. Of course, we know they got gas games coming along with their first party multiplayer. We're going to see how well they balance that. But given their pedigree for quality and their attempts to try to bring the best games they possibly can, of course, there are times they miss. No one's perfect at all. But when you do more good than bad, when more often than not you deliver, that's ultimately, the end state of a gaming company. That more often than not you deliver quality, take your hits here and there, right? But I am very thankful that Sony delivered a competent, well-designed, well-planned out console, so I ain't got to deal with no nonsense of any developer saying they're having issues with a game, they can't get it to run, so most likely it's going to get delayed or it's not going to come out at all. I ain't got to deal with that. I'm glad that for my $500, I'm getting way more than what I paid for with no issues, especially in 2023. 2023, it's just pretty much focusing on the games. And that really, after launch, when it came to PlayStation 5, that's pretty much all I've been focusing on. is really the games, right? Obviously, little by little, they added more capabilities. VRR. Now they have Dolby and all that stuff. And if you've been following my channel for a long time, I said plenty of times that features, right, and technology can easily be copied because those things are ones and zeros. But creating amazing games, it takes time. It takes studios to know each other. It nurtures development, things like that. It takes a while to have the pedigree to be an amazing first party. But features can instantly be copied or be copied very quickly. Before you know it, all the features are on PS5. That's what I said, before launch. I said, listen, all these issues that don't come at launch, by the time you realize it, Sony will have it updated, and then you'll move on for it, right? Notice nobody complains about VRR or whatever on PS5 because it's a normal thing now. It's normalized, right? But game creation, that's the main thing. But again, man, like today made me realize, like, holy shit, Sony did it right, right? As much trash as people try to talk about PS5 in 2020 to cap for Xbox to try to give them, a social media advantage, it failed. It ain't it. The Xbox Series concept, that was done. You'll probably will never see Microsoft repeat this two-school strategy ever again. What strategy they'll have for next gen, you know what? That'll be a conversation for another video. Maybe later in the gen I'll talk about my predictions. I just need to see a couple of more things, how things move. But for the most part, man, Sony by far, continued what traditional console gamers want. And they have consistently delivered. And the age of a traditional console is not dead, right? I know on the Nintendo side, they're talking about hybrid gaming, which is great for Nintendo. That's their niche. On the Xbox side, they're trying to say, it's not about consoles, it's about where you can play. Nah, it's just simply excuses because your favorite company can't do what gaming or console gaming has always been, right? Nintendo had to move on because it wasn't working for them. Microsoft has to move on because it wasn't working for them. Sony stayed the course, and they are on it. They are very successful on it. Already reached 40 million. They're trying to sell 25 million, setting a whole new record. They on this shit. Just because other people didn't work for them doesn't mean the concept is bad. This is console gaming. This is the traditional console. The way I play consoles from the original Nintendo, Sega Master System, Genesis, TurboGrafx 16, N64, Super Nintendo, Genesis, Saturn, Dreamcast, and guess what? PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5. That's the type of gaming I enjoy, and Sony's keeping it alive the way as it should be. So I'm real thankful for this PS5. It was a good product, best decision, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you PlayStation gamers, those of you who bought a PS5 or Xbox Series X, I guarantee a lot of you are like, woo, you dodged a bullet. And I guarantee some of you Xbox Series X, you have buyer's remorse. Guarantee some of you have buyer's remorse. Guarantee some of you by now, you won't show it online because I know how it is. You don't want to be excommunicated by your community. But I guarantee some of you deep down inside, you won't show it online. You won't do it on Twitter. You keep it to yourself. But I guarantee some of you have buyer's remorse. You're out there saying, smash it up. At the minimum, Xbox Series X should have been the console you bought later on. Like in 2024, 2025. After all the nonsense and BS is out the window, buying the Xbox Series X in 2025 makes the most sense. Because by then, all the games that they promised would have been out. And you ain't got to deal with 4 or 5 years of nonsense. But anyway, let me know what you think. As a PS5 gamer, are you thankful that this is the console you chose? And for you Xbox gamers, well, some of you may not. But if you are willing to, do you have buyer's remorse? Let me know. I'm out of here. See you guys Tuesday on the podcast. 60 frames, no lag. 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. Let's go.